Welcome to Reddily. On today's episode, Slimer425 asks,
Always give the hardest job to the laziest person because they will find the easiest way to do it. What is your best real-life example?
I was once a temp at a tiny office on a construction site around 2003. I was only there for one day while the regular person was on some training. They sat me down and told me that I just needed to copy all these numbers from one program to another. So I selected them, hit Ctrl-C and Ctrl-V. They stared at me. Turns out about 60% of this woman's time had been spent manually typing numbers from one place to another.
I had a manager that would manually delete every email from his work inbox. I'll never forget the look he gave me when I clicked the Select All button that was clearly visible the entire time.
There are way too many people who think computers are just typewriters with a bunch of weird extra crap on them.
I work in finance at a large multinational corporation. I feel like a big part of our job is to just stop doing things and wait to see who complains. If someone complains, we keep doing it. If silence, then we call it a controlled drop and put it on our performance review for creating efficiencies.
Years ago I was completing a daily report that was saved on a shared drive that 4 different people needed. I skipped it 1 week and no one said anything. Ditto on the second week. Finally, I put a message on the report that said, "If you need this report, please contact the Blue Witch," and I never touched the report again. We were recently cleaning out the shared drive, and I found that report. 2013 was the last time I input anything.
Boss hated Excel to the point where he didn't want us using formulas because you can't trust them to be right, so we needed to do all the calculations by hand or on a calculator. He would give me a spreadsheet once or twice a week that required, let's say, 45 seconds to do, but maybe 7 hours by hand, and he told me to go to Starbucks or something and crank it out. He thought that, since I pasted as values, and he couldn't see the formulas, I did it by hand when I really just did it in 45 seconds, sent an email on delay for 7 hours, and studied for the next semester. Dude was the poster boy for failing upwards in your career. On the first day of internship he told me with a straight face he was a work harder not smarter kind of guy.
He didn't want us using formulas because you can't trust them to be right, so we needed to do all the calculations by hand or on a calculator. This is the most asinine thing I've read today.
I worked a summer at a mortgage company as an assistant to the underwriters. My only job was printing documents and then hole punching them to put in folders. They had a super fancy Xerox printer that basically did my entire job for me, but the underwriters at this company didn't know how to click through printer settings to make the machine hole punch as it was being printed. I showed them how to do it, and they resisted it super hard. I got to keep my job, but what was supposed to take me all day literally took me about 20 to 30 minutes first thing in the morning. So they started assigning me real tasks, and even offered to keep me on to eventually become an underwriter too, because I was so sharp, i.e. I knew how to use the very expensive printer they already had. I was just about to start grad school, so I had to politely decline. But I'm pretty sure they didn't hire someone to replace me when I left. I work in a semi-warehouse environment and we have to track where items are at all times. When we move X item from location A to location B, we have to type out the to and from locations. We do this hundreds of times a shift. I went online to a free barcode maker website and spent about 20 minutes making location barcodes. I save hours a day by scanning barcodes.
I did something like that when I worked at a movie rental store. The computers made you sign back in after something like 15 seconds of inactivity. It was so unproductive. After a week or two at the job I bought some stickers and printed barcodes onto the back of my ID badge. One barcode had my ID, the other had my password. I could scan them both in a second or two. I avoided telling my boss because I didn't want to get in trouble, but he eventually found out, and when he did, he had me print barcodes for everyone. Just thinking about that computer system makes me mad, and it's been over a decade.
That's how you keep your warehouse from becoming a warehouse.
Herding yak with a drone takes the cake for me. They run from it, and oddly fear it, which is surprising considering they have literally zero aerial predators. We only did it a few times because it really makes them uneasy, and doesn't treat them well. But it is very effective and easy, And you can hear them from over half a mile away from inside the house. At my last job, a truck suspension shop, we did inventory every December, and it was someone's job to count all the washers and screws of every size. It was my first inventory, and I casually mentioned that they should just weigh one screw or washer, then weigh them all and divide the weight to get the count. Everyone looked at me like I had given them the key to the universe. Counting washers and screws went from a day or two to just a few hours.
Ideally, you'd want to weigh 10 or 20 to account for variations in weight.
Screw that. In high school, we had to do 4 book reports every year. A friend of mine did his on each The Lord of the Rings books and The Hobbit for freshmen, and turned in the same 4 book reports for the rest of his time in high school. We switched English teachers every year, so no one ever caught on. I was never brave enough to try the same thing. A long time ago, I was sent to help a team that was designing some analog test equipment. Big problem was when 2 of the parts were at different temperatures, the calibration would go off. They wanted me to design a circuit to measure the temperatures of the 2 parts and apply a correction. I solved the problem by putting both parts on the same heat sink so they would be at the same temperature. It worked. A programmer outsourced his own job overseas, paying Chinese programmers 1/5 of his salary to write code for him, while he spent his days surfing Reddit and watching cat videos. His performance reviews praised him for clean, well-written code, and called him the best developer in the building.
A bit unrelated, but there's a news story about a hitman who outsourced his job to another hitman, who in turn outsourced his job to another hitman. The third hitman also outsourced the job, and the fourth one also hired another guy to do it. In the end, there were 5 assassins and the target lived because the last one tattled. Lamau.
I was tiling a bathroom floor. One young guy I was working with was cleaning up when we were done. I told him to take the leftover tiles back downstairs to the truck, and then I went back to cleaning. 10 seconds later, I hear this huge crash and then a soft "oh, right." He had gone out onto the balcony and dropped them down to the truck, shattering over $100 worth of tiles. He said he thought it would be faster. He wasn't exactly wrong.
Well, that last one didn't go so well. Do you have any stories of your own? Share them in a comment.
Thanks for watching. Please like the video and subscribe. See you later.